Hello, this is Corey Murray with After Hours. So I'm here. I wanted to launch this video series to kind of give you guys more of an in-depth behind the scenes look. And I'm here with Luke Robson from Hillsdale Renaissance, who's kind of taken charge of re-envisioning this grand vision for the downtown revitalization of Hillsdale. Before we get started with a series of questions, I got to ask, Hillsdale College graduate, class of 2017, what'd you do after college?
So after graduating from Hillsdale, my first job was working for Governor Pete Ricketts, or then Governor Pete Ricketts. He's now the senator from Nebraska. I was his director of media relations. So I was helping draft his speech notes, helping field media events, taking pictures of the guy, helping do his press releases, all that sort of stuff. Helped with some of the strategy there. So I did that for a year, and then I went back to North Dakota, where I'm originally from, and I did some similar work for then Governor Doug Burgum. Doug is now the Secretary of the Interior for the United States. I did some work for his governor's office, also some work for his campaign in Fargo. I kind of split my time between those two organizations, and also started up a small business cycling yoga studio in downtown Fargo that's still in operation today. And then I did that for one more year, and then I went to Notre Dame for law school, and did that for 3 years. So that was 2019 through 2022. And in the middle of that, ended up starting Hillsdale Renaissance very slowly, just started some initial stuff with that, and started an effort to build Capstone Classical Academy in Fargo, North Dakota, which is the first classical school to enter the state of North Dakota. It's the first private Christian school to partner with Hillsdale College, and that's been very successful. I just got back from our dedication ceremony for our permanent campus in Fargo, and it's been lovely. We now have about 300 students, pre-K through 9. We're adding a grade each year, and it's been very successful.
So you're seeing growth with that.
Yeah, there have been a lot of that school is really meeting a hunger, meeting a need in the Fargo Moorhead area, and so it's been lovely to see that growth. So in 2022, I graduated from law school, moved back to Fargo for 1 year. That same year, I'm driving back to Hillsdale about once a month to work on stuff here. At that point, I'd acquired a few buildings, and we had started renovations on St. Joe's Cafe, 92 North Broad Street. So that was our first project in Hillsdale. That took a little while. There were a lot of bumps and bruises with that project, but it's doing very well now. We're very glad to have St. Joe's in town.
I got to ask
Yeah.
real quick before we get
Yeah.
down dirty into this. How do you think that, we can bridge this perceived divide between the town and the gown, between the college and the native people of Hillsdale?
Um, I have difficulty with the sort of terminology of town and gown, that divide, for a few reasons. Like, of course, there are people that have been born and raised in Hillsdale and have been here their entire lives, and that's fantastic. And I really hope that Hillsdale Renaissance does right by them, right by all the local people here, all the local businesses. We want to be additive to this community, not extractive in any way. But a lot of the people that work at the college have been here just as long.
Yeah.
And the college is such an integral part of this community. It really puts Hillsdale on the map, and it brings in a lot of visitors, a lot of people that are interested in the area, and those visitors aren't just interested in the college, even if that is often their primary reason for visiting. They really enjoy coming downtown. They enjoy visiting local businesses. A lot of the graduates of the college like to stick around. They find that they really love the church communities here. That's one of the main reasons I moved back. Yeah, I'm a college graduate. I have friends up the hill, but really, I love my church here.
Right.
And my business partner Colm, he loves, his wife. They stuck around because they love the church here. St. Anthony's, there are so many graduates of the college that want to stick around because they want to live. They want to be in Hillsdale. They're picking this place for a reason. Sam Negus says, we're not nowhere people. We are somewhere people. We're choosing Hillsdale for a reason, and a lot of the people up the hill are here because they like Hillsdale. So I have a little bit of a problem with the idea of a gap. To the extent that there's a town and gown divide, it's, is there a town and Martin Rea divide, right? Like,
Right.
I don't know what's going on at Martin Rea. I'm assuming they're doing good work, They seem to be a successful business, and more power to them. But there, to the extent that there's a gap, I think it's just there's maybe this perception that there should be more of a companionship felt between townspeople and the college. I'm not sure. I find that in my business, I get along great with people in town that have been here and have nothing to do with the college. They're wonderful. I love talking to them. I love working with them. And then I have a great time with people at the college as well. I love going up there, seeing my friends, seeing what's going on, seeing all the changes that are happening there. But
That's
it's
what
it's
I was going to say is
yeah,
I've been to Hillsdale College campus many times, many times, and dressed just like this,
yeah,
pocket tee and boots, and I've never looked down upon over there at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
I've
They're
always been welcomed and
We're all a part of this community
right.
together, and the college is a part of Hillsdale, and the town of Hillsdale is a part of the college. And I think it's a little improper to see these things as distinct entities.
Butting heads.
Other than, of
Yeah,
course, like the corporate form and all that, but it's we're all we're all neighbors. Yeah,
I like that. We're all neighbors. So you ready to get down into it?
sure.
We'll try and keep these a little bit briefer. We'll try and keep the video a little shorter. I'm going to start with the first question I emailed you, and I know you've already answered these, but I want these guys to hear from you directly
Okay.
instead of reading these words. What inspired the launch of Hillsdale Renaissance and why Hillsdale?
Yeah, so in the middle of law school, I ended up, I say I became a late term trust fund baby. My dad started a business with my cousin in Fargo, and that business did very well. And in the middle of law school, it went through a sale, and then I was told I had a small percentage of the business, and I found out, oh, okay, I don't need to be a lawyer anymore. Fantastic. What do I do now? I, as I said earlier, I'm from Fargo, North Dakota originally, and in Fargo, their downtown district went through this great revitalization through the leadership of Doug Burgum and his company called the Kilbourne Group. The Kilbourne Group took downtown Fargo used to be this very, honestly, a dangerous place. There was a lot of crime down there, just kind of a seedy area. Downtown Hillsdale's not that way, but Doug and Kilbourne said, no, downtowns are great. Actually, if we handle this well, people want to be in a downtown area. They want to be in a place where they can be, buzzing about, bumping into their friends, patronizing local businesses, living down there. And so they started buying properties in downtown Fargo. Much larger project than what I'm up to. And it's gone really well in the span of, gosh, I think less than 2 decades. It's gone from being this seedy downtown to a very vibrant, happening place. They have a brand new, not quite a skyscraper, but I think a 30-story tall building that just popped up
Wow.
down there. One of the largest agriculture equipment manufacturers, has their international headquarters down there now. New restaurants, new hotels, lots of small pop-up shops here and there. Several hundred new residents downtown. So I saw that happen in my lifetime, and I thought, okay, I really like downtown Fargo. I've seen what the sort of dedicated investment of a man can do, and I wake up and I've got this chunk of change, and I figure I really love Hillsdale. I love the college. I love the community. I love the church. Um, it's a much smaller scale than Fargo. Hillsdale's 8,500. Fargo's, the area is about 250,000. Um, so maybe I can do this on a smaller scale. And basically, with that, I started up Hillsdale Renaissance.
So Doug's been a mentor to you.
Yeah. I've worked with him. I grew up around him, and I'm friends with his kids, and they're a really lovely family. And yeah, just sort of seeing his example has been very educational for me.
So how would you describe your long-term vision for this project in downtown Hillsdale?
Ultimately, I want downtown Hillsdale to be restored. Right, you come downtown now, and it's a lovely place to be as it currently is, but a lot of the buildings have become dilapidated over the past few decades. A lot of the second stories are not in use. So I've picked up, depending on how you count them, about 28 properties. That adds up to about 150,000 square feet of owned space. Right now, only about 70,000 of that is habitable. Actually, it's probably closer to 75 now. Um, so that's 75. That's 50% of my square footage that I own can't be tenanted out, and that means that one, Hillsdale Renaissance doesn't receive enough revenue at the moment, which is my problem, not anybody else's. But it does, having dilapidated buildings, having vacancies in these properties. You if you're walking downtown, driving through downtown, you can feel that kind of emptiness. And this is not by any means a dig on what's currently happening in the current businesses down here. There's a lot of wonderful businesses in downtown Hillsdale, but I just want to see more of that. What the infrastructure that's already here, let's just fix what we already have. I'm not looking to, you know, build fantastic new large buildings or anything like that. I just want to fix what we already have, what we've been given.
Okay. So, what does restoring the historic charm mean to you in practical terms?
Yeah, in practical terms, I mean, you walk downtown, a lot of these buildings were built in the mid to late 1800s or early 1900s, and there's craftsmanship involved with these buildings that it's hard to find today. The architecture is difficult to reproduce.
Yeah.
I mean, modern construction practices are, we're talking about tip up construction, very quick, cheaper modes of construction than what these were built with. People are hand laying bricks, stuff like that. You've got these gorgeous archways. So restoring the downtown charm is taking what we already have and just revitalizing it, breathing new life into it, but also to the extent that we can, maintaining those features and trying to respect the buildings as they are. I mean, we're wrapping up renovations on 16 South Howell right now. That building, it probably would have been cheaper just to tear down and put up some sort of metal structure. Um, the return on investment would have been a lot more obvious if we'd done that. But when we bought it, I mean, anytime there was a rainstorm, rain would come into the basement of that building and flood out the foundation. There's all sorts of issues. It had suffered a fire at one point. Um, but rather than do the more obvious thing or the easy thing and tear it down, we decided to, shore up the foundation. We're taking the windows that have been bricked in and made smaller for whatever reason in the past. We've opened those up and put in, original size windows, not original windows. Obviously modern windows are better. Um, but we've tried to restore that building to something of what it used to be.
So, of all these buildings that you've acquired so far, how do you decide and prioritize which ones to invest in first?
Yeah, so up to this point, we've had 4 renovation projects. We've done 92 North Broad Street with St. Joe's Pizza. We've done 33 and a half North Broad Street, which is a 2-bed, 1.5 bath apartment. The Drew's Place Assisted Living Facility, the former Drew's Place Assisted Living Facility, is now 7 townhome style apartment units. And then 16 South Howell is going to be the headquarters for a nonprofit that is coming to Hillsdale, or is already in Hillsdale, but they just need a headquarters building. Um, those the 2 downtown commercial buildings, so St. Joe's Pizza and 16 South Howell, we had tenants that were interested in the space, and we were able to build out those spaces with a tenant in mind. So that made it a lot easier to prioritize those buildings. We know, okay, as soon as we're done with construction, somebody's going to be in there tenanting it, operating it, paying rent. Um, 33 and a half North Broad Street was, when we bought that building, it was a whole rat's nest of just a lot of stuff was wrong. I mean, the utilities were all over the place. Somebody in the commercial unit would trip a breaker and it would mess up the electrical in one of the apartments, and stuff like that was happening all over. The water pipes were, and none of the utilities made sense. And so we wanted to get those utilities sorted out to just make it simpler for all of our tenants. And then it also had this, not burnt out, but this completely dilapidated apartment unit on the back side of it, which is 33 and a half. And so because we wanted to get the utilities sorted out across the building regardless, figured, okay, if we're doing that, we might as well just also renovate this apartment unit, bring it back online. So that was, we just so happened to be able to also rent that out basically as soon as it was finished. Um, so that was kind of neat, just kind of convenience on that one. The Drew's Place assisted living facility, we bought that building and we knew that if we got enough units in there, it could be profitable for us relatively quickly at a lower cost. And that's not a historic building, so the renovation there per square foot has ended up being cheaper than what we do downtown. Um, and so it's just a way to get more units online. Residential tenants, that's what we're low on. I mean, there are a number of commercial tenants downtown that we rent to, but a lot of the residential spaces, those second and third stories, are uninhabitable. But residential tenants are also your most stable source of revenue as a landlord. So we just knew that we needed to get more residential units online. So that was an opportunity to get 7 more units up and running. Um, Now that we've done those, we're taking a step back for this next year, and we've partnered with 2 consultants, Pago USA and Model Group. Pago is out of Fort Wayne, Model is out of Cincinnati, and they are holding our hands and guiding us through the process of applying for these government grants and tax credit programs. And they're helping us package up a number of buildings with that. And so we're prioritizing buildings based off of their guidance on what is most attractive for these different grant and tax credit programs. So either late in 2026 or early in 2027, we're planning to start renovation on up to 6 buildings all at once in downtown, and that'll be facilitated largely through those government programs. And so those government programs are kind of the thing that led us to prioritize buildings there. I should also mention in the note of the town and gown idea, Hillsdale College really does care about this town. And when they heard what I was trying to do, they connected me to Eric Doden, another alum of the college. I think he graduated in the '90s, and he started Pago USA, which is this consultant group in Fort Wayne, and they're helping small towns in Indiana
Mm-hmm.
figure out Indiana and Ohio figure out how to do what I'm trying to do here. And Dr. Arndt at the college was very gracious and very thoughtful, and just thought, okay, I hear Luke's trying to do this. I know about Eric. I'm going to get them in a room together and send them on their way. And so, because the college does care about this town's success, and he thought that this was a way to partner some people together that could help facilitate that in a more direct way than perhaps the college could on any given project. So that was it's been a very fruitful connection there, and very grateful for the leadership there on behalf of the college.
That's awesome. So I got one question. You guys stuck under Dante's Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
You guys stuck on that project. Dante's is open. The cigar lounge is coming along.
Yep.
I've heard still. How do you envision that space with that very nice wine selection over there in that cigar lounge kind of contributing to the overall package of economic development that's going on?
Yeah, so 55 North Broad Street, that's technically not within Hillsdale Renaissance because for like liability purposes,
Right,
it's
right,
its
right.
own separate thing. But I do own that as well. And so there is Dante's is the theme. It's 3 different spaces. There's Dante's Paradiso, which is our wine and cocktail bar, and it's this really lovely, intimate setting. Great for date nights or just, you know, catching a drink after work, whatever it is. We've got great bartenders. They're good to talk to, and really, lovely clientele. And then we have Dante's Purgatorio, which is our liquor store, named Purgatorio because you're not staying there. And we've got hundreds of different whiskeys. We've got all the liquors. We've got a good beer selection, fantastic wine selection. We have a sommelier on staff as well, John Mascaro. So highly recommend anybody who's remotely interested in wine go check out Dante's.
Even beginners, right? Because John will walk you right through it.
John absolutely loves
And
talking with
he's
beginners.
tasted every single thing that's in there.
Yes, yeah,
Personally
he
curated this whole thing.
yeah. So John, when we first hired him before Dante's opened officially, I mean that guy had the best job in the world because he sat in my courtyard out here and just invited in these wine distributors and just sat tasting wines all summer. He's yeah. I was very jealous. I'd be sitting in here working on a spreadsheet or something. I look out and he's got like 6 glasses of wine around him. Um, but he loves talking with beginners on all this stuff because he makes it very fun, very approachable. He's very knowledgeable, and he helps people identify, like whatever your price point is. We have it. We have a good wine
Hmm.
at that price point. One of John's favorite things is to talk with somebody, figure out what their tastes are, and point them to a really great Italian wine that's like $12, right? And so we got stuff all the way in like the $10 to $12 range. That's still great stuff that you probably wouldn't find at a mass marketplace like a Kroger or a Meyer. All the way up to, if you're having a really fancy dinner and you want to impress whatever it is you want to make a gift, we've got those $200 bottles as well, and some that exceed that. And so it's just a really fun time with John. Really recommend anybody. Don't be scared. Like,
Yeah.
just go in there. John's a great guy. He'll crack a joke. You guys will be having fun in no time. And then the Inferno. So Dante's Inferno is in the basement of that building. What used to be the underground bar and club. That is going to be a cigar lounge. We have the cigar license sitting there waiting for us to finish renovations. It'll be another bar down there as well. It's a large space down there, so that will feature a common area, bar, smoking whatever, a walk-in humidor for cigar purchases. We have 3 kind of semi-private nooks in the common area as well, so you can go and bring a small group, and you can still have privacy if that's what you want. We'll have a conference room there. I think we'll see. It's either 12 or 14 people. I can't remember off the top of my head. That'll be rentable for, like, let's say you want to have your business meeting just somewhere different. You can bring that to Dante's. We'll have audio visual there available. Um, we have another larger public room that will have a TV in there if you want to watch a game or something like that. That will also be rentable for, let's say a visiting football team wants to come and have their leadership meeting. They could have that in the Inferno. And then on top of all of that, we will also have a private lounge. So we'll have lockable humidors memberships. There'll be key fob access. Um, It'll just be a really lovely, intimate place to go, quiet place, and just have a nice cigar with your friends.
Will you have a John in the cigar lounge?
Uh,
A cigar
we
expert?
don't have a cigar expert lined up yet, but we do have plenty of people that love cigars. We don't have anybody who's got some sort of certification, but Joel at Dante's, he co-owns it with me. He has good cigar knowledge. We're potentially bringing somebody on who also has a good depth of cigar knowledge. And so we won't have like well, maybe we will at one point have somebody who's certified. I don't know what the equivalent term
Right.
would be, but yeah, we will be able to help people out there who are interested in getting into cigars.
So, what kind of feedback have you received from residents and fellow business owners in the downtown since kind of starting this whole project?
Generally, it's been positive. I've received a fair bit of skepticism as well, which I expected. When I was first moving here, I was always hearing about the sort of drama with the Kiefer Hotel project, which I'm very glad they're making great progress over there, and it seems like it's going to be ready soon. Um, but I was very nervous about that coming in as an outsider. But I was very pleasantly surprised. I think it helps that I'm here. I've got my wife and kids here. We're laying down roots here. Um, I'm not here to be extra. I just really love this place, and so to the extent that I've received skepticism, a lot of that has been solved by just sitting down and talking with people. If somebody's upset or curious about something, I'm more than happy to sit down, talk with them, and figure out what the problems are. Um, Downtown business owners, I don't think I've received any complaints in my recollection about what we're up to. I mean, there's obviously when you're doing construction and stuff, there's hiccups and roadblocks and stuff that happen, but that can be frustrating at times, and we've certainly had small episodes of frustration with residents, whether they're commercial or residential. But Those are really great opportunities as well to just work with them, figure out what the problems are, um, build goodwill that way. We really want to be good landlords for the people here, and we really want to take care of these buildings. And I think that we've done well. I've received good reviews, but also maybe people are crabby behind my back, and I don't know about it. I don't know.
So, how do you ensure what you're taking on kind of reflects the needs and the character of the community?
Yeah, a lot of that is I don't sit and like intentionally think about okay, what is like the Hillsdale thing to do here necessarily, but a lot of it is okay. One, the basic infrastructure project is we're just restoring what's already here. Like I'm just working with the existing infrastructure of Hillsdale and trying to restore it. So the sort of the character of the place is taken care of that way, and the needs of the place are taken care of that way. We also host. We're beginning to host annual events and starting to build out our calendar there. And we've got Charlie here working at Hillsdale Renaissance, and he's doing a wonderful job with that. And I suppose the way that we sort of make sure that it fits the character of Hillsdale is we're basically just amplifying the existing talent that's here. You know, when we have an event, it's not us doing the event, right? Like we just sort of create a space for local people to do something in, right? So we had the summer block party. That was local musicians coming and performing. That was local food trucks coming in, you know, and we worked with the local businesses to give them notice and say, hey, you know, it'd be good to have something perhaps out on the sidewalk so people can see what's going on. We invite local people to these things. It's so to the extent that you know we're considering the character of the place. It's let's just give the people of Hillsdale more opportunities to do good things in the place where they are.
So, I want to talk to you real quick about this the freight building redevelopment. That's it's probably not going to happen fast,
Mm-hmm.
but this whole opportunity for rail tourism, I think, is really interesting, especially with these trains. You know, they come in a couple times a year, and what's already been going on with the city of Hillsdale. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of what you envision for that space down there?
Yeah, so I one of the buildings I own is that historic freight house at the north edge of downtown, and it's a awesome building. I mean, it's industrial in its nature and character, but it's so well built. It's one of the best built buildings we have, and it's just an impressive space. Obviously, on the beyond that, you have the what's an operating rail yard with the Indiana Northeast Railroad operating out of there. Um, we're hoping to work with the Indiana Northeast Railroad, or not hoping, we are working with the Indiana Northeast Railroad and the Michigan Department of Transportation to help relocate the operations of that railroad, so that way we can redevelop that whole rail yard into a really welcoming environment for those tourist trains that come into town. The Indiana Rail Experience has been awesome. They've got some wonderful leadership over there, and they really want to make Hillsdale one of perhaps their premier, at least one of their premier visits, and perhaps their kind of flagship stop. Um,
Fingers crossed.
yeah, they really love coming to Hillsdale. They like what we have going on here. It's just not the most hospitable thing when people show up to be sort of ushered into an operating rail yard where there's you know spare parts lying around and all that stuff. And so we have a site identified and secured for the Indiana Northeast Railroad to relocate to, and now we're just going through the odds and ends with MDOT of okay, how do we actually do that in a way that works for the railroad, works for the state, and then that will open up that rail yard for us to redevelop it. So right now on the north edge of our freight house, there's this metal lean-to. We want to tear that down and rebuild the old platform that's there, or that was there, so that way you know those steam engines come in, people can offload right onto this nice platform. We can remove a bunch of those rail spurs that are down there and create some green space. Perhaps use those rail ties that are there, and you know create furniture, you know, benches, light posts out of them, what have you. Um, and just have it be kind of a small park area in at the northern edge of downtown, kind of smack dab in the middle of downtown and the college district. Um, it's going to be a while. I mean, NDOT has been good to work with, but it's still a government, right?
Right,
It's,
right.
I can only imagine all the odds and ends and hoops that they have to
Have
jump
you
through.
seen the Christmas train that comes through Coldwater and Quincy?
I haven't seen that one. No.
It's just fingers crossed we can get something like that. It's a really cool
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I know
So
the Indiana Northeast, or the Indiana Rail Experience would love to drastically expand its operations here in Hillsdale and do more of those themed rides, more of those family friendly rides. Um, we had the Railroad Days Festival just a few weeks ago. They want to do more stuff like that. One thing that used to happen in Hillsdale was called Roosevelt Days, and it commemorated Teddy Roosevelt coming through on the on the train and giving one of his speeches. He spoke in Hillsdale at the Freight House area, just off the back
so
of
this
it.
kind of ties in, Hillsdale's history too,
Hmm.
because Hillsdale was a main stop on the railway.
Hillsdale was the stop on the railroad for about a decade in I want to say 18. It's either 1833 or 1843. I'm getting my dates mixed up right now, but for about a decade, if you were coming west out of New York City, the line stopped in Hillsdale, and that's because they just ran out of money when they were building So the whole reason Hillsdale exists is just sort of miscalculation. And so for about a decade, because they didn't have any more money to continue building the rail, Hillsdale became this incredibly important hub for rail traffic. So people would flow out west, and then goods would come back east. The original industries of this town were wagon wheels and barrels, stuff like that. And that freight house down there serviced those people coming through, serviced all that traffic, and it really put Hillsdale on the map. It was like that for about a decade before they were able to continue building the rail, but that was enough to create a sort of path dependency, making Hillsdale a very important hub. I found one advertisement. When was this? I want to say it was early 1900s for a new rail that a group was proposing to build, connecting Detroit, I believe, to Indianapolis. And even then, in the 1900s, Hillsdale was still considered so important to the rail industry that it was advertised as the Detroit Hillsdale Indiana Railroad. So we were right there with Detroit and the entire state of Indiana as far as the importance for rail at the time. And so that is one thing we could do to sort of keep in the character of the city. Is respect that heritage and do more around that. And the trains are just fun. I mean,
Yeah.
that steam engine that comes in is just a monster, and it's old, and it has all this stuff going on in it, and it's really cool to look at, fun to hear, and blow your eardrums out, but that's all right. And yeah, it's a really fun thing to have here in town.
So back on track. What does success look like for you in 5 to 10 years with Hillsdale Renaissance?
Yeah, 5 to 10 years. That means we have about 14 buildings completely on top of the 4 projects that we've already done. We have another 14 planned for that time period, and we'll have a bunch of new downtown residents. A lot of those 14 projects, a lot of that will be restoring these second and third stories that are in disrepair, filling those with tenants. Hopefully, most of our storefronts are filled in at that point as well. We'll have a very robust annual calendar of events. I say 25 annual events. I don't know if that's reasonable or not. Maybe that's too low. Um, but downtown Hillsdale should be this very vibrant place to be, a very fun place to be where stuff is just kind of always happening. Where on any given weekend, if you don't have something to do, you can just go downtown and something will be there for you.
So my last question: what keeps you motivated going through all this, especially when you hit back, the inevitable setback or frustration if you run into something that's unforeseen? What keeps you going through those days?
Yeah. Sometimes on any given day, if I hit a particular setback, I have been known to just sort of just sit for a little while. And sometimes I do have to take the day off, but that's not terribly often. Um, but generally, I just love this place. Right? It's just a lot of good people here. It's just I got a lot of friends here, and I just see so much potential here that is just sitting there waiting to be tapped into and given an opportunity to explode. And I just love the idea of it all coming together. And it's a fantastic town. It's a important town, and it's a town that I think forgets how important that it is a lot of the times. And it's sort of because of the decline of manufacturing in the Midwest over the past several decades. I think that led to a kind of depression, a sort of spiritual depression in this area that had a long tail. But I think people are ready for something new to happen. They're ready for some more vibrancy, um, and it's just great. And I just want people to know how great this place is. So that's part of it. And then uh, Teddy Roosevelt has this quote that actually I got turned on to by Doug Burgum, but it's far and away the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. And Hillsdale just has so much good work worth doing. There's a lot of needs to be met here. There's a lot of great people to work with. It's just a great spot. And what else are you gonna do? You gotta do something, right?
So it sounds like the whole plan in long term is to make this place like a South Haven, a Ludington. We're you're getting in that weekend traffic maybe to come in and visit these small historic rural downtowns.
Maybe I haven't been to South Haven or Ludington. I just like Hillsdale. I think
Yeah,
the plan is
put this on the map.
the plan is to just allow Hillsdale to be what it can be. I don't really care for us to necessarily be comparing ourselves. I do love going to other small towns, whatever, and exploring those places, but they all have their unique quirks and features going on there, and that's great for them. But the vision for Hillsdale is let's just have this be
I
a great place
I gotta ask
for us and
this:
anybody else.
what's one thing that you think besides the college
Yeah.
that makes Hillsdale, downtown Hillsdale, unique?
Um, Downtown Hillsdale being unique. I mean, the churches really are. So having St. Anthony's right here downtown is really awesome. I'm not Catholic myself. I'm Eastern Orthodox, but having a really vibrant church community right in the heart of downtown is fantastic. And I hope that they stay there forever. Other things that make downtown unique, it's a very like if you're downtown, you're 10-minute walk from the college, you're very close to the hospital. There's a lot of residential area right down. It's a very accessible place to be. Um, so that's great. I mean, the whole wedge block there is kind of a unique feature as well. And kind of the layout of downtown is pretty relatively unique among small areas. And there's all these cool historic buildings, um, and the business owners are fantastic. I mean, Cindy over at the filling station is one of the joys of my day when I go there for lunch. She's lovely, and I don't, how like taxi driver they talk about cabbies in New York. They have like
Mm-hmm.
an extra part of their brain that's grown out to like memorize the streets. Like Cindy has that for sandwiches. Like I walk in and she just knows what everybody's order is and
She knows your name and your order. Yeah,
name
yeah.
and your order. And if you ordered something unique there 2 weeks ago and you're like, what was that? And she has that on call at all times. I don't know how she does it. And then you go to Pub and Grub, and like Pub and Grub is the best bar in America. I just love that place, and Kevin does such a fantastic job there. And you go in, and you're not quite sure what to expect the first time, and then you have some of the food, and it just turns out that Kevin is just this fantastic chef, and he's always experimenting. Probably 90% of the time his experiments work. Every now and then it's like I don't know what went through your brain this week, but I'm glad that this like I had a spaghetti taco one time, and I'm glad I tried it. But that's the exception, not the rule. Generally, Kevin's out there working with something new, and it's almost always fantastic. What else is going on? I mean, it's just and then new stuff like St. Joe's. That's run by a young man that moved to the area because he likes the church here and he has some connections. He's from the Kansas area originally, Kansas Oklahoma area, and he's doing a great job of it. I mean, the pizza there is
Yeah.
fantastic. He's paying a really close attention to his ingredients and is really offering up a really thoughtful experience. And like this town just brings in people like that. I tend, you just find a lot of thoughtful people here that want to do well if they're just given the opportunity. And there's also like a surprisingly good music scene here, that's growing. Like Lost Mary, Luke and DJ are those. They've got a really strong following on Spotify now, and they make fantastic music. And they're starting to mentor some younger people that want to try and get into the music scene for themselves. And um, it's they're accessible. They're just awesome guys to work with. They also operate the Hillsdale Painting Company, and they do a great job there. Um, but they're just a great hang. Love seeing those guys, and yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on downtown.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a unique place, but it's not unique just because of like us, it's sitting here being unique. It's unique because of the people here that are making everything happen, and they're all good. They're all good people.
Well, that's all time we got for today. So, you want to say goodbye to our audience, Luke?
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you guys next week, and I have something crazy planned for that. So, stay tuned.